So Graeme, it's a career that a lot of people dream of. How did you establish yourself as a professional rugby player, and was it always something that you wanted to do?
I think it started when I got sent to boarding school. I was born and brought up in Hong Kong, which isn't really known as a hotbed of rugby, although it is improving. I got sent to Dollar Academy in Scotland. My boarding house master was the coach of the first 15 at the time, and so I was exposed to just being immersed in his knowledge and enthusiasm for the game from such a young age. I'd go and play rugby during school and then go to the boarding house at night and listen to all of his lessons and tales, and so it definitely started a fire inside me that just grew and grew, and I think very much identified from an early age that that's what I wanted to do. And he taught me a lot of values that rugby can give you, and I think that helped me along the way, as well as teaching me the skills that I picked up along the way too. So yeah, from an early age, dreamt of doing it, and I was very lucky to do so.
And you had a fantastic career, but can you describe the feeling of pulling on a Scotland jersey and playing in front of a full house at Murrayfield?
Yeah, as I said, I dreamt about it for years and years, and then when it finally came, it was very surreal. Running out to 67,000 Scottish fans at Murrayfield, there's no feeling like it. The bagpipe band play Highland Cathedral, and so that's quite an emotional song. Even now, it takes me right back, and you go out onto that pitch and hit that wall of noise, and it's you think about all the things that you've done, all the hard work you've kind of gone through to get to that stage, and all the sacrifices that you've made for yourself and for your family, and you can definitely see some of the players get a bit of a quivery lip at that moment, and that's exactly why it's kind of something they've always dreamt of that's coming true.
And it's a hard day for every professional. The time you got to retire, what was it that made the decision for you, and what was it like on your final day as a professional rugby player?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately you want to finish on your terms, but unfortunately for me, that decision was taken out of my hands. My knee had taken a bit of punishment, and after about my 6th or 7th operation, my surgeon said it's time to finally hang up the boots. So it was a tough decision. Glasgow were kind of in the process of offering me a new contract at the time, so I spoke to my surgeon about this, and he said, listen, if you want to be able to run around with your children in the future, then you have to stop. And that was enough for me. I'd made so many amazing memories, created great memories over the years, as I said, amazing friends, and really had a special time doing it. But anything that jeopardised my health in the future, it was just not worth it. So it was a tough decision. 10 years at Glasgow. The club gave me a really nice gesture when I finished. They gave all the players a little badge to wear on their sleeves for my last home game, which said 10 years of Graeme Morrison, and it was hugely emotional. But the support was great, and after the game that night I met my wife, so it definitely softened the blow heading into retirement.
And many of your ex-professionals kind of pursue a career staying within the rugby industry, and they go into coaching or maybe punditry. Was that something that you considered? It
was something I'd thought about, but then I took a step back from it all, and the emotion of staying in rugby is one that's very, very tempting. I thought that it was a great chance to step away from the game for a little while. I'd been involved, as I said, for 10 years, and it was getting quite full on, and the chance to just step away and take a breather from the game and get involved in something completely new. The opportunity to become an accountant came about, and I thought it would be a huge challenge and a completely new skill set, but one that would be long term, as opposed to maybe hanging around coaching for a few years and then coming to this crossroad again. So where I'm at now, I'm very pleased with the choice I made.
And were you and your teammates given much guidance and support in terms of planning for the future and careers beyond professional sport?
We were. We quite regularly had people coming in and talking to us about the importance of developing a new skill set for life after rugby. But as a young player in a dream job, you kind of have the mindset that it will take care of itself one day, and you don't really focus on that. And so, the idea of me spending my Wednesday afternoon off learning in a classroom or online just didn't appeal to me. In hindsight, I wish I had done something, because the transition wasn't as smooth as it could have been. If I'd taking an Excel workshop, or just Microsoft Office skills, or even just being in an office environment one day a week, that would have just made life a little bit easier. The younger players nowadays are taking a lot more responsibility for that. A lot of them are putting themselves through open university courses, going in and doing work experience, and that's something that I really think that we need to see more of. And I think that the Scottish Rugby Union and Scottish companies should take more time and think about what they can do, because rugby players are not just big physical people. They've got this skill set that is second nature to them, just through what they do every day. The discipline, the timekeeping, the decision making under pressure, the teamwork and communication skills. I think these are hugely beneficial to an organisation, and I think a lot of companies would like to have these kind of people in there.
And how have you found it now watching rugby from the sidelines? Can you sit back and relax watching the match in your armchair, or did you find it hard to kind of take a step back and not be over analytical?
I think the first thing is that I'll always find it slightly emotional watching, especially when I go to Murrayfield and seeing the guys run out. The memories come back, and you always want to be part of that. But I'm lucky enough to have done what I did for that period of time, and it really is someone else's turn, so that's just something I'm going to have to deal with. A lot of my close friends are still playing in the Scotland squad. John Barclay's captain right now, and I was his best man and he was mine, so I'm still kind of exposed to quite a lot of it. When I catch up with him, it's just chatting about what's going on in camp and stuff. The longer that I'm out of the game for, the more I can watch it without sort of noticing what players are doing right and wrong in defence or in attack, and it's starting to become more enjoyable. And watching Scotland and Glasgow, how they've progressed over the last couple of seasons, has been hugely enjoyable for me to watch, because not only am I connected to the club just in the history that I had there, but again, a lot of my friends are playing there, so it's great to see them doing so well.
And did changing career paths bring any kind of fear to you, because it's quite a big change from going from professional sport to accountancy?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you come from a professional sporting environment where you're classified as being elite in your chosen field, and so playing rugby for Scotland and being told that your top percentage in the country is huge. Stepping away from that into something completely new, you realise that you have to start again from the bottom, it's quite daunting, because it's not within your comfort zone. So you just have to take the lessons you've learned about keeping on pressing forward when times get tough, and just sort of understand that you've had this great opportunity where other people have had to put in the graft academically or in a company, and now it's your turn to do that. And I've managed to get through relatively unscathed so far, so it's not all that bad.
And what was it actually attracted you to move into accounting, and how did you go about changing careers, basically?
It may come as a surprise to you that when I was a young rugby player, my dream wasn't to become an accountant. I didn't really think about it, and as I've said, hadn't really given much thought to my career after rugby. One day it was there, and then a rug was taken from under my feet, and then I was left in a position where I didn't really know what I was going to do. Fortunately, I got a phone call from ICAS asking if I'd like to meet Anton Colella, who was the chief executive at the time. ICAS had just developed a program to put people through the qualification without a degree, and it was called the professional route through. So fortunately for me, this opened that opportunity, because I didn't get a degree at university. I was there for about 6 months. I went away and thought about it, and the more I sort of researched and thought and learned that accountancy is huge in everyday life for most businesses around the world. There's usually a CA at the helm of most of the top companies, so it was going to be a huge challenge, but it was one that again I was excited to take on, and I've got ambition to do as well in this career as I did in my last one.
And you touched on a little bit earlier, but what similarities have you found between professional sport and the business world?
Yeah, well, I think the technical skills are non-comparable. So, a lot of the technical work that I do is all quite new on a daily basis, and so, I'm sure if you ask the most experienced accountants, they'll still be honing their technical skills every day. There's always a need to improve in each area, but it's the skills that require absolutely no talent that we all need to, that we all can do with just a little bit of sort of effort and mindset. It's the sort of arriving to work on time, being on time for meetings, discipline, being enthusiastic, being coachable, teamwork, respect, and all those things that rugby players get sort of embedded in them over the years becomes kind of second nature. I think a lot of rugby players kind of forget when they're moving into a new career that they have those built in, just because it is second nature to them. And I think by displaying that sort of those behaviours so far, I've managed to get through the qualification and have a great job here at Johnson Carmichael, which I only see myself growing stronger in.
And can you ever replicate the kind of thrill and excitement of the professional rugby running out in front of thousands of people in the business world and in accounting?
My honest answer is no. I've beaten England at Murrayfield in the Calcutta Cup, which was huge. Beat Ireland across in Dublin in front of 80,000 fans at Croke Park, and that's got to be one of the most enjoyable days of my life, obviously excluding my marriage and the birth of my children. So I think that sort of hitting that level of enjoyment again, no, I don't think so, but it's different. If you were to ask me, do you enjoy your job? Then honestly I can say yes, I do. It's a completely different world, and I've kind of parked that rugby one, and now it's about learning and developing in a completely new environment. I work in a great team here at Johnson Carmichael. I feel that we spend so much of our lives together in the office that if you don't enjoy it and don't really get on with the people you work with, then kind of what's the point? So I do enjoy what I do, and the more I become sort of established in the corporate finance world, both in Glasgow and Scotland, and just within my Johnson Carmichael team, then the more and more I'll enjoy it.
And you just talked about it a little there, but the kind of camaraderie between sport and teammates is quite famous, and kind of band of brother mentality. Have you found it working in a different industry with different people, and is there any similarities between the two? Or?
There are. Again, rugby completely different. You kind of go to war with these guys every Friday, Saturday. They become like your brothers, as you say. You're there for each other. You're kind of all focused on working toward this common goal, which is winning. And to do so, you pull each other along. You push each other along if need be. When times are really good, you enjoy them together, but when times are bad, when you lose games, when you get injured, when you don't get selected, these are the guys that are there to pick you up. And through rugby, I've become best man for teammates. I'm godfather to a couple of their daughters, and that's a really special relationship you have. As I've said, we spend so much of our lives in the professional world, in business, in the office with our teammates, so it's really important to form these bonds. Because if you didn't, then you wouldn't enjoy it. And I'm glad to say that so far, coming out of my career, everyone's been very supportive and friendly and really helpful. And I think that's definitely displayed here at Johnson Carmichael. Everyone's been so accommodating and welcoming, and I'm really enjoying working here.
And what was it that kind of initially attracted you to joining the team at Johnson Carmichael?
I did my qualification with RBS, and they are a great organisation. They're constantly sort of improving and getting back to where they can be. But it was a huge organisation, and for me, it was more about really wanting to be part of a smaller team where I could be a lot more client-facing, which I am now. In the short time I've been here, experienced meeting CEOs, entrepreneurs, intermediaries from such a wide range of industries and sectors that it's really interesting first and foremost, but then I get to meet some very interesting people as well, and that was one thing I really wanted to do in a Scottish environment, and I'm glad to say that's what I'm doing now.
And finally, put yourself in your own shoes as a 20-year-old professional. What kind of advice would you give to the young players of today about planning for the future and careers beyond your short career as a professional rugby player?
I think the first thing I'd say is, while you're doing what you're doing as a professional rugby player, just enjoy it. Give yourself to it fully. and really enjoy it. You know, it's a fantastic opportunity to do something that only a very few amount of people get to do. So whilst you're going through the highs and lows of it, just enjoy it. But then on the other side, you know, keep an eye on the future. You never know what could happen. The collisions are getting bigger, the physicality is getting, you know, a lot more intense, and you could get injured at any point. So during downtime, you know, keep an eye on the future and skill yourself up. The more you learn external to rugby, the more your kind of mind's relaxed, and then when you hit the ground running again the next day of training, you know, you're kind of rested and a better person for it. I think that the more rounded you can become will help you both as a rugby player, but also for the future. So you know, never forget that the dream's going to come to an end one day, and you need to then kick on again.